Currency needs to be backed up by real money, and that is where we're headed. So it's not a question of will or even if we're going to return to a gold standard. The question is when. How soon is it going to happen? The sooner the better. The primary backing for that is going to be gold instead of US dollars. For the rest of the world, it's not a big change because they still had to earn those dollars, right? The only country that can print dollars is the United States. So if you're a foreign country and you're accumulating dollars, you might as well just accumulate gold because you still have to earn it. You still have to generate exports and have, flows coming in to buy that gold. Or, of course, some countries, they can mine it themselves, right? And then the governments can buy it right off the miners. But the big change is with the United States, because when we are back on a gold standard, or when the rest of the world is no longer on the dollar standard, then we don't get a free ride anymore.
Right.
We need to earn gold to back our currency, and we need to export to import, because right now, countries export over $1 trillion a year of goods to America to get dollars, right? As to back up their currencies, but they're not going to need those dollars anymore. They're going to need gold, and we don't have that. I mean, we do. I don't know that we're going to sell off the gold that we have, but what's going to happen is we're not going to be running those trade deficits anymore because the world's not going to need our dollars. They're going to need gold. And so they're going to, but so for the rest of the world, it's not as big a change, but it will rein in governments to the extent that they want to keep running deficits. It's going to be a lot harder to do that with gold than with the US dollar.
Right.
And I think interest rates globally are going to be a lot higher than they have been. And, and that's also going to be a big change. People could still use dollars, euros, yen, pounds. They just would have gold backing instead of dollar backing. Although the US dollar has really no backing, right? Although we have whatever gold we have in Fort Knox. But it would be better and more honest if there was a fixed exchange rate where you knew you could convert your currency to gold at a particular price. That would keep governments honest. But if we don't do that, if governments just need to hold gold as a reserve in case they have to defend their currency, how do they do that? They would sell gold and buy their currency. That's what central banks do with their dollars. They hold those in reserve in case they need them. But I think the world trade, right? There's a lot of the world trade that is also denominated in dollars. That's got nothing to do with governments, where you have individuals in two countries trading with each other, where they're invoicing and paying in US dollars. And I think that's going to change. And, it would be a lot easier if everybody invoiced each other with gold. Gold is very easy to pay. We talked earlier about, a Bitcoin, but the blockchain, might be used to make gold payments among, companies, individuals, a lot easier to facilitate. We don't even need a central bank. You can have private depositories, and gold can change hands, either on a blockchain or just through
right.
online transfers. And so it's not that hard. And especially, internationally, you could price things in gold. You wouldn't even have to price things in currencies. I think that could be the direction that the free market heads, as more people lose confidence in ever-inflating fiat currencies, and they want to do business in gold because it's more stable and more reliable. They could do that, and we have the technology today to make that a lot more efficient than it's been in the past. The current monetary system cannot last, right? With the dollar at the centerpiece, because it is the source of all these global economic imbalances. You have a country like the United States that consumes way beyond what it produces. And these huge chronic deficits are a major problem for the structure of the global economy.
Right.
And the longer it persists, the bigger that problem grows.
The push for a return to the gold standard, or a similar system based on real value, such as gold and silver, has gained significant traction in recent years. Peter Schiff is one of the leading voices advocating for this shift, and he consistently warns that the current fiat currency system, which allows countries to print money without backing it with tangible assets, is unsustainable. The US dollar has held its position as the world's reserve currency for decades, but that status is now under threat. And as Schiff explains, it's not just a matter of if the world will return to a gold-backed system, but when it will happen. The US dollar's reign as the world's reserve currency has provided the country with an immense economic advantage, allowing it to run large trade deficits and accumulate massive amounts of debt. Essentially, the US has been able to print money to buy goods and services from other countries without producing much in return. This free ride, as Schiff often calls it, has led to the ballooning of both public and private debt in the US. But this advantage is coming to an end, as countries around the world are losing confidence in the dollar and moving toward gold. One of the key points Schiff emphasizes is that when the world moves away from the dollar standard, the US will no longer be able to print money to get what it needs. It will need to earn gold to back its currency, which means the US will need to produce more than it consumes, something it hasn't done in decades. The US will be forced to balance its trade deficits, and this will have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. For the rest of the world, the shift from the dollar to gold is less significant because most countries still have to earn dollars through exports. They will simply switch to earning gold instead. Some countries like China and Russia are already preparing for this shift by mining their own gold and keeping it within their borders. The challenge for the US is that it doesn't have nearly enough gold to back its currency, which could lead to significant economic turmoil when the dollar loses its reserve status. The reason gold is so important is that it provides a stable and reliable store of value, unlike fiat currencies, which can be printed at will by central banks. Schiff explains that gold has been money for thousands of years, and its history as a reliable store of value is what makes it so attractive to central banks and governments. As the global economy becomes more unstable, countries are increasingly turning to gold to protect their wealth. One of the key indicators of this shift is the massive accumulation of gold by central banks. Countries like China, Russia, and India have been buying gold at unprecedented rates while reducing their holdings of US dollars. According to Schiff, these countries understand that the dollar is losing value and that the current fiat currency system cannot last. By hoarding gold, they are preparing for the eventual collapse of the dollar and the return to a gold-backed financial system. In fact, Schiff suggests that many countries are already operating under a quasi-gold standard, even if it's not officially recognized. They are using their gold reserves as a way to back their currencies and defend against the volatility of fiat currencies like the US dollar. This is why central banks continue to repatriate their gold and bring it back within their borders. They know that gold is the ultimate insurance policy in times of economic uncertainty. In this context, both gold and silver are more valuable than ever. Schiff emphasizes that silver, often overlooked in favor of gold, plays a crucial role in the future of the global financial system. Not only is it a precious metal, but it's also an essential industrial metal used in everything from electronics to medical devices to solar panels. As the world moves toward green energy solutions, the demand for silver will skyrocket, making it an even more attractive investment. Despite its importance, silver remains significantly undervalued compared to gold. The current gold-to-silver ratio is around 85-1, meaning it takes 85 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. Historically, this ratio has been much lower, around 16-1. This presents a unique opportunity for investors. As the demand for silver increases, and as the world moves toward a more gold and silver-backed financial system, the price of silver is likely to rise dramatically.
So even though Roosevelt made it illegal for U.S. citizens to convert their Federal Reserve notes to gold, foreign governments could always take their Federal Reserve notes and get gold at a fixed rate of $35 an ounce. And so when we broke our pledge in 1971, when we defaulted on our promise and we told the world that the notes are now worthless, that they used to be IOUs for gold and now they're IOUs for nothing, the dollar got marked down, but it didn't get counted out. It lost about 2/3 of its value against the Deutschmark, the yen, the franc. It stayed as the reserve currency, and that was the beginning of the huge problem, because once we realized that the world was dumb enough to hold our worthless paper as a reserve, that's what started the massive deficits. That's how we went from the world's biggest creditor to the world's biggest debtor. That's how we went from large trade surpluses to massive trade deficits, because we could print money and get stuff for free. When the dollar starts to collapse, and central banks want to divest and everybody wants to get rid of dollars, they're not going to say, okay, well, let's try the euro on for size. Why would they want to do that? Why should the euro be the reserve? The yen? Are you going to use the yen? I mean, come on. They can't. I mean, the yen isn't. They can't use the pound sterling anymore. You know, you're right. There are no currencies that are worthy of the dollar's crown. The dollar's not worthy of it either. So what the world is going to do is go right back to gold. That is the obvious choice that everybody is ignoring. Talk about like the elephant in the living room. So people are complacent. Oh, the dollar will be the world's reserve forever because no other currency can. Paper currency needs to be backed by real money. That's the problem. We have a monetary system right now without any money. We need to anchor the system with real money. The paper is a money substitute. It only has value if there's real money backing it up. And gold is the best real money that we've discovered. And that's where we're headed. So the question is, when does the world go back to the gold standard? Not does it, but when? But the history of the world for hundreds of years is gold is money. And that history hasn't been rewritten. Gold's going to continue to be money for a long time. This period where it wasn't used as money will be a footnote in history and a lesson to be learned. So this has created this false sense of complacency that the dollar will remain the reserve currency indefinitely because there's no other currency that can take its place. But people are missing the elephant in the living room. The obvious choice to replace the dollar is what the dollar replaced, and that's gold. And so that is where we are headed. We are going to return to the gold standard. That is the norm. Throughout modern history was to have gold as money. I mean, that's the problem with our current monetary system is that we don't have any money anymore. We just have paper. But currency needs to be backed up by real money, and that is where we're headed. So it's not a question of will or even if we're going to return to a gold standard. The question is when. You know, how soon is it going to happen? The sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. But I think we're a lot closer now than we've been in the past. And I think that circumstances are certainly evolving in a way that makes not only that return inevitable, but close at hand.
In today's digital age, the idea of using gold as a currency might seem outdated, but Schiff argues that modern technology, particularly blockchain, could actually make gold-backed currencies more practical than ever. With blockchain technology, it's possible to create a transparent and efficient system for transferring ownership of gold without the need to physically move it. This could revolutionize international trade by allowing businesses and individuals to conduct transactions in gold rather than fiat currencies. Imagine a world where instead of invoicing in dollars, companies invoice in grams or ounces of gold. Blockchain technology could facilitate these transactions, providing a secure and transparent record of ownership. This would eliminate the need for central banks to control the money supply, as individuals and businesses could hold their gold in private depositories and transfer ownership digitally. The use of gold-backed digital currencies could also provide a solution to the volatility of fiat currencies. In a world where inflation is eroding the value of paper money, a gold-backed digital currency would offer stability and security. As more people lose confidence in fiat currencies, the demand for gold-backed digital currencies is likely to increase, further boosting the value of gold. While gold often takes center stage in discussions about the future of money, Schiff also emphasizes the importance of silver. Silver has historically been a valuable monetary metal, and its role in the future economy will likely be just as important as gold's. In addition to being a precious metal, silver is also a key industrial metal used in everything from electronics to medical devices to renewable energy technologies. As the world moves toward green energy solutions, the demand for silver is expected to skyrocket. Solar panels, electric vehicles, and other green technologies all require large amounts of silver. This growing demand, coupled with the relatively low price of silver compared to gold, presents a unique investment opportunity. The current gold to silver ratio is around 85 to 1, meaning it takes 85 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. Historically, this ratio has been much lower, closer to 16 to 1, which means silver is significantly undervalued. For investors looking to protect their wealth in the coming economic transition, silver represents an attractive opportunity. as the demand for silver increases and the world moves toward a more gold and silver-backed financial system, the price of silver is likely to rise dramatically. The world is at a crossroads, and the current fiat currency system is no longer sustainable. The US dollar, once the undisputed king of global finance, is now teetering on the edge of collapse. Central banks and governments around the world are preparing for this shift by accumulating gold and reducing their reliance on the dollar. As Schiff explains, the world is not going to transition to another fiat currency like the euro or the yen. These currencies are plagued by the same problems as the dollar: unrestrained money printing and massive debt. Instead, the world will return to gold. Gold is the obvious choice to replace the dollar as the global reserve currency because it is the only asset with real, intrinsic value. It cannot be printed or manipulated by central banks, and it has been used as money for thousands of years. The return to a gold-backed financial system is inevitable, and those who are prepared for this shift will be the ones who thrive in the new economy. Preparing for the future. Invest in gold and silver. Now, for investors, the writing is on the wall. The current fiat currency system is on its last legs, and the return to a gold-backed system is just a matter of time. Now is the time to invest in gold and silver, while prices are still relatively low. As central banks continue to accumulate gold, and as the demand for silver increases, the prices of these precious metals are poised to rise significantly. Investing in gold and silver is not just about protecting your wealth, it's about positioning yourself for the future. When the dollar collapses and the world returns to a gold standard, those who hold gold and silver will be in a much stronger position than those who hold fiat currencies. The global financial system is headed for a major transformation, and the return to a gold-backed currency is inevitable. As Schiff explains, the US dollar's days as the world's reserve currency are numbered, and central banks around the world are already preparing for the shift. The question is not if the world will return to a gold standard, but when. For investors, the message is clear. Now is the time to invest in gold and silver. These precious metals have been money for thousands of years, and they will continue to be money in the future. By investing in gold and silver today, you are not only protecting your wealth, but positioning yourself for significant gains as the world transitions to a more stable and reliable financial system backed by real value.
Stay informed about the latest developments shaping the precious metals markets with regular updates from the Finance Daily team. Not only that, but as a subscriber, you'll also receive timely silver and gold price notifications and early access to groundbreaking news unavailable to the general public. Join our free gold and silver newsletter today, link in the description.